Hello. It's good to see you. Today, we're going to be talking about embarrassment, how to handle embarrassment. This was a request from a subscriber that someone asked me to talk about dealing with embarrassment. And I've been thinking about it for the last few days since I got the request. And I thought that's an interesting thing to talk about. I've never really thought about it very much. We're going to talk about dealing with embarrassment. And I'm assuming that, when this person wants me to talk about dealing with embarrassment, they're talking about how to deal with things after they've happened. I would assume, not the anticipation of embarrassment, I guess, but maybe how to handle it in the future. Something like that. Well, first of all, I do want to say, I don't have any notes. I don't have my little paper cards. I know some people like those. I don't have any notes at all. I'm just gonna ramble, basically. There's no format. Sorry. But if I say anything, that makes you defensive, just stop and listen. Don't tune me out or say, oh, that's easy for you to say. You've never been through such and such. Just listen before you just shut down and don't want to hear anymore. Just listen to what I have to say. I have been there before, and it's not easy for me to say. If I sound flippant, I don't mean to. Sometimes I do come off that way. And sometimes I am, because I just do that. But, okay, embarrassment. First of all, keep in mind, keep this in mind. When you're in the middle of an embarrassing thing, just remember, everybody's been embarrassed. Everybody, even the coolest people on earth. I promise you, at some point in their life, something has happened that has embarrassed them. And they've been through exactly what you're going through right now. Even people that seem unflappable, like nothing would bother them. I promise you, they've been embarrassed at least once in their life. One really good embarrassing moment everybody has. So just know that if you're a human being, it's just part of being human. We all do things or have things happen that are embarrassing. So you're in good company, because we've all been there at one point or another. We've all been embarrassed. So it's not just you, because I know when you're dealing with an embarrassing moment, you feel like you're on an island unto yourself, and no one could possibly understand how awful it is. We all understand. We all do. And I promise you, if you have been through an embarrassing thing where people are laughing at you, and I have been there, I'll tell you the story. I had a thing happen where a thing happened and everyone was pointing at me and laughing, and it was very embarrassing. I promise you, most of those people are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that wasn't me. At least it wasn't me this time. They feel for you, even though they may be laughing at you. I think the way people respond to things has a lot to do with how they feel about themselves. I can tell you, I'm getting close to 50 myself, and for most of my life, I didn't think much of myself. I didn't really have any self-esteem to speak of. I had no self-confidence. I didn't really feel worthy of anything. And it took a lot of work and a lot of therapy to go back and really start to understand why I felt that way, and how it has affected decisions I've made throughout my life, and how to kind of break that cycle, and to realize, I am worthy of respect, and I should have, self-respect and self-esteem. I am, just as good as anybody else, and I don't deserve to be treated poorly. So I think when you feel that way, when embarrassing things happen to you, I think it hurts more. I think it physically hurts more than someone who has good self-esteem and they have self-confidence. I think people with self-confidence are still affected by embarrassing things. I don't think it's the same, though. I don't think it affects them for as long. I don't think they sit around ruminating about it, 5 years later. When you think of that moment, it still physically pains you to remember what you went through. I don't think everybody feels that way. I think some people look back and go, yeah, that was rough, but they don't sit around worrying about it. And I've been working towards getting that way more myself. And it's not easy, and I'm not saying it is. But it's embarrassment, I think, is subjective. For most things, I think, not everything is embarrassing to everybody. I think there are some things that you could look at and say, okay, that would be embarrassing to pretty much anybody. Like, say, you were conducting a symphony orchestra in front of thousands of people and your pants fell down and it was on laundry day and you didn't have any underwear on. I think most people would be embarrassed by that. There might be somebody out there that wasn't embarrassed. I would be embarrassed. That would be embarrassing. I think most people would get that. That would be, and then you'd probably be on YouTube within like 5 seconds. Somebody these days, fortunately I grew up in a time before the internet, which was most excellent for a number of reasons. There are no videos of me as a young person doing stupid things, so that's good. So just remember, first of all, everybody gets embarrassed. And, looking back at some of the things that I think about, I just wonder, did anybody even notice? Or is it all in my head? Have I blown this incident out of proportion? And I'm really good at that. I'm really good at taking a little nothing and turning it into a big deal when it's really not. I do that. I will just obsess over an idea and turn it into a big thing. And I realize I do that, and that is something I need to work on. I need to quit doing that. I will make a mountain out of a molehill in my mind. I will take some little thing and I just will not stop thinking about it and drive myself crazy. So I don't really, I'm not a therapist. This is not medical advice or anything. If you want to deal with future embarrassment or deal with when embarrassing situations come up, in order to handle them better and not have it bother you so much, the first thing you have to do is start working on yourself and how you feel about yourself. That, I think for me, that did a lot for me. You have to start there. You can't start at the moment the thing happens. You have to take a step back and really look at how you feel about yourself and your place in the world, and how worthy do you feel of dignity and respect. I think that has a lot to do with it. That's just my opinion, but I'm going to tell you 2 stories of embarrassing things that happened to me. And it's funny because one thing that hit me today, I started thinking about it and I thought, okay, what embarrassing situations have I been through? What can I think of? And I've had things happen to me, but I don't think I interpret them the way I used to. I've had things happen to me that would have been devastatingly embarrassing to me 10 years ago, but now it's like, whatever. I'm not embarrassed by it. But I would have been. If I'm very good at tripping over flat surfaces. I can just walk along and trip. I don't even know. I think it has to do with the shoes I'm wearing or something. If the sole is a little bit thicker than what I'm used to, it's like I forget and I'll trip over my own feet. And that would have been very embarrassing to me when I was younger. But now it's like, I do my own stunts. Look at what I did. Bet you can't do that. And I just laugh it off. If somebody wants to make a joke out of it, I will just go with it and say, yeah, let's see you do it. I'm the boss. Let's see if you can do it better than me. And then it just goes away. You diffuse the situation. Because sometimes you'll have things happen and you'll be around a jerk. I hate to say that. They're just a little toxic. They take pleasure in seeing you fail at something. They like to see you trip up. So they have to point it out and try to make a thing out of it. Don't let them make a thing out of it. You tripped. Yeah, wow. Good observation there, Mr. Obvious. And just move on. Let's see you do it. I did it on purpose. How do you know I didn't? Just, keep giving them stupid one-liners until they shut up. Just be more annoying than they are. That's a good thing. But yeah, I got to thinking about it. I haven't really been embarrassed by anything. I go in stores all the time and I walk around with my phone and I talk to myself for 45 minutes or more. And people ask me all the time, how do you do that? I would be so embarrassed. Now, see, that's why it's subjective, because to me, that's not embarrassing at all. What's embarrassing about that? Nobody's looking. Nobody cares. They probably think I'm FaceTiming with somebody showing them stuff, because I see people do that in the store all the time. I don't think anything of it. That's probably what they think I'm doing. And well, too, it's perception. It's all about your perspective. For me, I look at it this way. I don't know those people. Why do you care so much what people think of you? They're total strangers. Why does it matter? And that's something you have to answer for yourself. Why does it matter so much to you what other people think of you? Complete strangers that you'll probably never see again. Why does it matter so much what they think of you? And you have to answer that for yourself. I can't answer it. My answer to that would be, well, I don't care what they think of me. So if they think I'm a weirdo, it doesn't have any impact on me. And what they think of me is none of my business anyway, so I'm not even going to sit here and wonder about it. They don't pay my bills. They have no impact on my life. They don't make decisions for me. I don't even know them. So I don't worry about what they think of me anyway. I've never been embarrassed. I've never felt weird about it. I don't know. I just don't. I don't see the point. It seems like a waste of energy to worry about strangers in a store. But I get that question a lot. How do you make videos in stores without being embarrassed? I would be so embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. You got nothing to be embarrassed about. They're not looking at you anyway. Nobody's paying attention to you. And once you figure that out, once you thoroughly accept the fact that no one's looking at you, no one is watching your every move, when you can really accept that, you will not believe how liberating it is. It will decrease your anxiety. You will be able to move more freely everywhere you go. You won't feel that stress anymore of worry. Worry. What are they thinking? People are looking at me. No one's looking at you. They're not. And if you see someone looking at you, it's probably because you're looking at them and they're wondering why you're looking at them, and they're thinking the same stuff you're thinking. See, it's a terrible cycle. Nobody's looking at you. So like I've said, unless you walk into a store, like in a Big Bird costume and you're juggling chainsaws, nobody's going to look twice at you. They're not going to pay attention to you. So if you're walking through a store and you trip over something, odds are nobody even noticed. Because it doesn't matter to them. They're in there trying to shop and get whatever they need. Everybody's kind of in their own little bubble anyway. So it really helps if you can start to... First thing you have to do is figure out what kind of self-esteem you're working with. Because for most of my life, like I said, I had none. And it goes back to growing up in a dysfunctional family and I just felt like I didn't matter to anybody. I felt like I didn't matter. I felt like I was invisible. And for most of my time as a child, I kind of was. I was very quiet. I didn't talk much at all. In fact, if there are people watching this that went to school with me, they're probably amazed. They probably never heard me say this many words in the entire time they knew me. I just never talked. I was very quiet. I tried to be as invisible as possible. Because sometimes as a child in your home life, that's an advantage to be invisible. And I was that way in school. I was very timid. I was very shy. And I just didn't feel worthy of anything, really. So the two embarrassing stories I have to tell you come from my childhood. One of them was from middle school and one of them was from high school. And honestly, I haven't really had much happen since then that I've really felt that embarrassed about. So, all right, the first one I'm going to tell you, this is kind of a long, drawn-out story. I'll try to cut it down a little bit. This was when I was in 7th grade. Now, when I was in 7th grade, I had a crush on this boy. But like all the girls had a crush on this boy. He was beautiful. He was in the 8th grade. Tall, dark, and handsome. He was so gorgeous. He was stunning. He was truly, he looked like he could have been a model. He was just so gorgeous. Tall, dark, handsome, beautiful man. We were all in love with him. We'll call him Adam. That's not his name, but we'll call him Adam. So I had a big crush on him. And I had this friend. She wasn't really my friend. I didn't know it then. She was just a toxic person. It's a terrible person, really, honestly. I didn't figure it out until later. But again, I had no self-esteem, so I allowed people to treat me like dirt, and I just put up with it. Like, I would forgive them over and over because I just honestly didn't feel like I deserved any better. So I had this so-called friend, and she was in 6th grade, but she was very precocious. She was just, I don't know, she didn't act like a 6th grader. She was very deceitful and conniving and just a bitch, basically. So, you know, and I got to see her every day at school. And so one day she came up to me and she said, "Mary, you are not going to believe this. I have some major news. You've got to sit down. You are not going to believe me. But I heard from a very reliable source that Adam likes you." And I said, "No, he doesn't. He doesn't even know I exist." She said, "Oh, he does. He does. He mentioned the other day that he thought that pink jacket you had on was really cute, and he thought your hair looked really good too." See, so he definitely noticed you. He knows you. He likes you. Oh, come on, he does not. Oh, he does. So and so told me that he does, and so is Adam's best friend, so he would know. And this went on, and every day she would tell me different things. You know, "Oh, today Adam said he saw you walking down this hallway going to your locker. He said you looked so pretty today." And she kept she would give me little details and stuff. And it got to where every day I would look forward to talking to her about it. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And then one day she came to me and said, "Okay, Mary, here's the deal. Adam really wants you to be his girlfriend. But he's afraid to talk to you because you're so quiet. He thinks you're stuck up. So he's going to need you to make the first move. And what he wants you to do is tomorrow he wants you to go up to him in the cafeteria at lunch and say hello. And if you will do that, he will ask you to be his girlfriend." And I said, I can't do that." "Well, you're going to have to, because he thinks you're stuck up. And the only way you can prove that you're not is if you go talk to him in the cafeteria. And you have to do it at lunch, because that's really the only time he's got. So you've got to go do it at lunch. You have lunch with him, right?" I said, "Yeah, we're always in the cafeteria at the same time." "Okay, he needs you to do that tomorrow. If you really want to be his girlfriend, you have to do it." And I was so gullible. I mean, but she was so convincing. So here I am. I was so painfully shy. I was so scared. I was terrified. This was a small school. Okay, so, and I can still, to this day, I can see every moment of this incident. It is burned into my mind. You know, I'm like 11, 12 years old. I can still remember it. So the next day comes and I go into the cafeteria, and I always sat with the same kids. Like, they were kind of like me. You know, we were all kind of quiet, bookish little kids, and we, you know, were sitting there. And I don't remember what they said to me. I don't remember the conversation, but about halfway through lunch, I couldn't eat. I was just sitting there. I was so scared. But I really wanted to talk to him, and I'm sitting there trying to psych myself up like, "You can do it. You can do it. You can talk to him. You can talk to him. You can do it." Okay, so finally I get up and my legs were all shaky, and it felt like it took forever to get across the cafeteria because he's sitting way over, you know, with all the cool kids, you know, they're over in their little corner. I was terrified. But I walked over through the sea of tables and people, and I get over there. And I was horrified. And when I get really nervous, my voice gets really squeaky and high-pitched. And so I stood there for a minute, like right next to him at his table. He's sitting there eating and talking to his friends, and I'm standing there with this stupid grin on my face, you know. I'm scared to death. This is the scariest thing I think I'd probably ever done. I mean, I'm over at the cool kids table. Like, I did not belong over there. I was not one of these kids at all. I was one of the little invisible kids that nobody remembers going to school with. So I stood there for what felt like forever. And finally, I tried to clear my throat to make a sound like I'm trying to get him to notice that I'm there. I'm like, he just hasn't seen me, that's all. He doesn't realize I'm here. So I kind of cleared my throat. And he looked up at me. And he just went back to talking to his friends. And I thought, oh, but maybe he's afraid to say anything. Maybe, well, she said I have to say hello. I didn't say anything. So I squeaked out a hello. 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 And he looks up and goes, are you talking to me? Yeah, I just wanted to say hello. He goes, hello. And he just went back to talking to his friends, and I'm just standing there. And I didn't know what to do. I was just like, well, now what? I mean, he's not, I thought he would talk to me if I said hello. So then I said, well, I just wanted to come say hello. Hello. And he goes, hello. And he just goes back to talking to his friends. And that's when it hit me. She made it all up. It was all a lie. He had no idea who I was or why I was standing there. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. I wanted to just die right there where I stood. I wanted to just pass away. And I slunk back to my table. But now nobody noticed, and I was aware of this at the moment. Like this registered with no one. It didn't register with Adam or his friends. Nobody even realized I was there, really. So it was helpful, but at the same time I was absolutely horrified that I had done that. And I was so embarrassed, and I was embarrassed, I was angry. I was a mixture of emotions. It was awful. I am so glad that no one really picked up on what I was doing. I mean, nobody but me knew why I was over there and my butthole of a friend. So I went to see her later that day. I saw her after school, and I said, I went up to Adam and talked to him today. And she goes, oh, did you really? Oh my God, I didn't think you'd actually do it. What did he say? I said, he didn't know me. She said, did everybody laugh? I said, no. She goes, well, I can't believe you thought I was serious. You actually thought he knows you. He has no idea who you are. You thought he wanted you to be his girlfriend. You actually believe that? He can have any girl in the school he wants. Why would he want you? Oh my God, you are so stupid sometimes. Wow, you are just too gullible. Yeah, she got a real kick out of it. I didn't get a kick out of it. I was angry at her, but I remained friends with her because, again, I didn't think much of myself, and I just allowed her to treat me that way. So that was really embarrassing to me, but no one else saw it. But I still felt, I was horrified that happened. And I will never forget it. And he's still, Adam is still hot. He's married with kids. He's off the market. He's totally off the table. But he is someone who, he was really hot when, because some people are really hot when they're young, but they don't age well. Oh, he aged beautifully. He is still hot to this day. I mean, he is still just, whew, he is something. Anyway, but not for me. He's married, got kids. No. So that was one embarrassing thing. Now the second one was worse. And this was, okay, now I've told you before that when I was 16, I was engaged. I was engaged to a pretty rough guy. He, he dropped out of high school. He was in and out of jail. He was constantly getting in trouble with the law. Really kind of a rough guy, but I loved him, Oh, I love him, so nauseating. No, I was convinced that I was in love with him and we were going to get married. Well, he lived with his grandmother, and she had an above-ground pool installed in her backyard. This was when I was 16. Oh, yeah, I was 16. And I had a job at the local grocery store, and I had, I had bought a car, and I was paying my mom off for the car. So I had a car and my license and everything, and Well, he wanted me to come over and go swimming in the above ground pool. It was very nice. I mean, it was one of those, it was big. It had like a deck around it where you could put out, deck chairs and lawn chairs and, all that kind of stuff. It was nice. He said, "Oh, come over. We got the pool all set up, and so and such is going to be here. The family's going to be here." This was on like a Saturday. Some of his relatives were there, and some of our mutual friends were coming over. We were going to do like a cookout kind of thing. And I said, "Oh, okay, sure." And I had just bought a bikini, and I had not worn it anywhere. I was very self-conscious. I felt weird putting it on. Like I don't know. I was very uncomfortable with myself, and I really didn't want to be there with all those people because his family was kind of greasy and rough around the edges and just kind of unpleasant in a lot of ways. And they would make a lot of inappropriate jokes, and they were just very raunchy, and I was not used to that. It made me uncomfortable. Like his uncles would say inappropriate things to me, and my fiance would just laugh. He just thought it was funny. It was really inappropriate stuff. Just lots of boundaries getting crossed, and lots of enmeshment, and just weird people. Anyway, they mean well, I guess. It's just not what I was used to. My family's not like that. No, my family's dysfunctional in a completely different way. So, all right, I had my bikini on. I was very uncomfortable, like I said, and so everybody was out by the pool, and my fiance and I came out, and we went up the steps, and we were standing like on the little deck thing, and his little cousin, who was maybe about 12, his little cousin, this boy, comes sashaying up, just walking right up to me, and he grabbed my bikini top and just yanked it down. I mean, like down. And I was horrified. It was the most bizarre, surreal moment. I mean, you ever have something happen and your brain goes, "There's no way this is not really happening. There's no. And my brain was just going, no. And I fumbled, and I could not get my top back up, and the latch, the thing in the back had come undone, and I was trying to like hold it up, and everybody, I mean, all of his family, our friends, there were probably close to 20 people there. They're all pointing and laughing at me like nobody's trying to help me. Everybody's laughing at me and pointing at me. And I just got my top up the best I could, and I just ran back in the house. I was so mortified. I was so embarrassed. I hadn't even had a chance to get in the pool. We'd been out there for like 30 seconds when this happened. I was so humiliated, completely humiliated. And then so my fiance comes in a minute later, and I'm in the bathroom. I'm just sobbing. I was so embarrassed. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I could barely talk. I mean, I was so upset. And I said, I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm not going back out there. I'm going to get my clothes and I'm going to go home. And he said, "What are you talking about? He was just having fun. He was just playing around. Why are you being like this?" I said, "That was embarrassing." He said, "Oh, he didn't mean anything by it. You need to learn to lighten up. You need to take that stick out of your ass and just lighten up. Why do you take everything so seriously? God, he was just playing." And he made it my fault. He made it all about me. You're the one with the problem. You have no right to be embarrassed. You have no right to feel the way you feel. That didn't help matters any. And I said, "I don't care. I'm going home." And I came out of there, and I got my clothes, and I put my clothes on, and I just left. I didn't say another word. And I never went back out to that pool. I said, "I'm never going back out there. I don't care. I'm never going back out there." But he was not very helpful. He was not very understanding. He just made it out that I was the problem, not his bratty little cousin or nephew or whatever he was, little punk. No, I was the problem. And it was so humiliating because, of course, his family, they would bring it up all the time. "Oh, you remember the time you were out there and he did that? Ha, ha, ha. You were so embarrassed. It was so funny." Because they just think that kind of stuff is just the funniest thing they've ever seen. Oh, I cannot stand people like that. I'll just say this. I did not stay with that fiance. We stayed together. You know, he lived back home and I went off to school. He made my first year of college a nightmare. He did. I had to move 3 times because of him, because he kept calling and threatening my roommates. He called several times from jail. It was awesome. I broke up with him that summer after my freshman year. Anybody that takes pleasure in seeing you suffer, even if it's just a joke, you don't need to be around people like that. Because if they cannot respect the fact that it bothers you and it hurts you, they're not going to respect much else about you either. If they can't be a little bit more empathetic and they take pleasure in seeing you suffer, this is not a person that you need to spend time with. And that is a rule that I have stuck to in my adult life as well. I will not spend time around anyone who enjoys seeing me hurt or seeing me suffer. Not anymore. I have, but I don't anymore. So one thing you can do if you're dealing with an embarrassing moment, if nothing else, you might be able to take a lesson from it. Look at the people who were involved in that embarrassing moment. Did someone deliberately try to embarrass you? If they did, you might want to question why they did that. Why would they want to do that to you? Why do they find that funny? Why does that put a smile on their face? Yeah, that's not somebody you need to be around. I don't care if it's a family member, significant other, a friend, coworker, whatever. You don't need to be around this person. And if nothing else, I would limit your time around them as much as possible, because it's not going to change. They're just going to keep trying to hurt you and try to make it out as just a joke, and you need to lighten up. That's what he told me through that bathroom door. You just need to lighten up. I don't know why you're so serious all the time. You just, you need to learn to take a joke. That was not a joke. That was horrible. And so that's one thing you can do. And I know it's hard to be embarrassed. Here's something I do if I have something happen to me that's embarrassing. And again, just try it. Just try it. If you have something happen to you, just imagine, like you have this character in your mind. Just imagine them looking at the situation and going, oh, big deal. Oh, big deal. So what? Use your self-talk to tell yourself, this is really, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, this is not a big deal. It doesn't matter. Keep telling yourself that. Doesn't matter. It's no big deal. And something I do too is focus on something. Like if you trip over nothing, like I do, if you fall completely down, so I've done that too, just get up and play it off like you meant to do it. My cats do that. Evie did it the other day, I swear. She was up on, we have this cat tower, it has these scratching posts on it. She was scratching on it and she kind of swung around and sort of fell off onto the floor. And the first thing she did was look at me like that, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to laugh? Or I said, oh, good kitty. And she just walked off like, yeah, I did that on purpose. Of course I did. I meant to fall off there. That was my plan all along. That's the only reason I got up there, was to fall off. And she just sashayed away like she does, kind of swinging side to side. Her little belly does this when she walks. Her little tail. So, yeah, just sashay away and be the awesome person that you are, and don't let them forget how awesome you are. No, being embarrassed is no fun. I know it's no fun. Everybody has been embarrassed. But I've spent a lot of my time watching people. And that's one thing that I have done in my many years on this planet. I've observed a lot of people, a lot of situations, and I was always jealous as a kid of people who could have potentially embarrassing things happen to them, and they just play it off like it's no big deal, and they just move on, and it's not a big deal. Because when you have an embarrassing thing happen to you, this is something I've observed numerous times. Like, say you're walking along and the sidewalk's a little icy and you fall down. The people around you, they may try to help you. Some people don't. They just stand there. They're waiting to see what your reaction's going to be to whatever happened. Whether you spilled a plate of spaghetti or, something happened that is potentially embarrassing. The people around you are going to watch to see what your reaction is. And that, for a lot of people, will determine how they react to whatever just happened or whatever you just did or said. They're waiting to see what you do first. And how you respond to it is going to affect the way they respond. And you can end up in a terrible cycle. Like you end up in a spiral where you get embarrassed. they pick up on the embarrassment. They feel bad for you, which causes them to react in a way that makes you even more aware that they have observed this thing and that you need to be embarrassed because now all eyes are on you. So you become even more embarrassed. If you're like me, I'm fair-skinned. I blush very, very easily when I get embarrassed. And people pick up on that. And I notice that they pick up on it, which makes me blush even more. And eventually, like, my face is on fire. Yeah, it's horrible. So the best thing you can do is just play it off like, wow, look what I just did. Whoops. And just go on like it's no big deal. Even if inside you're screaming and you want to die, play it off the best you can like it's no big deal. And people around you, not everybody, some people will laugh regardless because some people are assholes. They'll just laugh. They just think it's funny. Like, honestly, if you slip on the ice, I may have to stifle a giggle. For some reason, that's funny to me. It's not funny. I even laugh when I fall on the ice. There's just, I don't know what's funny about this. Like, you suddenly go down. Now, I will help you up. I may be giggling while I do it, but I'll help you up. But they will, their behavior will be based on how you react to it. So if you at least try to react like it's no big deal, the people around you, if anybody observed it, will probably be the same way. Like, yeah, that's how it goes. And then they'll just go on with their day, and you'll go on with your day, and it will be over, and that will be it. And you don't need to ruminate over it. You won't have that terrible cycle between you and the observers of the incident. And I've been stuck in that cycle myself. Yeah, it's, and I can think of a few times that I've, like, stumbled or fallen or dropped something, and I got embarrassed, or somebody said something that was embarrassing, and it embarrassed me, and yeah, it's very, very uncomfortable. And once you get in that spiral, like, you really can't get out of it. It's just hard. You have to just run away, I think, at that point, or jump out the window or something. I don't really know how you end it. And those are the incidents that I would ruminate over for the longest time. But again, I think when it comes to dealing with embarrassment, remember that not everything embarrasses everybody. Embarrassment is very subjective. Something that might not even register on my radar may be very embarrassing to you, or vice versa. I think where you really have to start when it comes to how you deal with embarrassment is focusing on how you feel about yourself. Because I think it really comes down to self-esteem, self-confidence, and just being assured in yourself. Because if you have more of that, if you can find ways to increase your self-esteem, I think it kind of takes care of itself to a certain extent. If you are the type to ruminate over things, it may be harder. You may have a harder time not sitting there and just going over and over and over it in your mind. But try to stop that cycle in your mind when you can. Try to stop that cycle. Just picture again somebody, just a cartoon character or whatever. I had this imaginary friend as a kid that was a little lizard. He was in a knoll. He was a little green lizard. He could stand on his hind legs. And I just imagined him leaning up against the wall and going, big deal. So what? And he just walks off, and it makes me go, yeah, it's really not a big deal. It's okay. So what? This thing happened. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. It's over. I can't imagine it would happen again. I'm not going to worry about it. Like having my bikini top yanked down in front of all those people. Yeah, so what? Big deal. I don't talk to any of those people anymore anyway, so it doesn't matter. And, they're just a bunch of dummies, and I'm not worried about it. They find things like that uproariously funny. So good for them. They can enjoy their lives together. I'm no longer a part of any of those people's lives. So I guess my advice to you would be, first of all, remember everybody's been embarrassed. Everybody. I don't care who it is. Everybody has been embarrassed at some point. And everybody, I think, has at least one weakness. There's one thing. I think everybody, if they were to think about it, could think of at least one thing and say, oh God, if this happened, I would be so embarrassed. Oh, I would die if that happened to me. Everybody has at least one thing like that, probably more. So if you go through an embarrassing thing, it's really not the end of the world, although it may feel like it. And you're going to have incidents happen in the future. If you go out into the world and interact with people, you're going to get embarrassed again. But in the future, just try to remember, big deal. Who cares? And even if you want to die inside, try to act like it's no big deal and there's no reason to care about it. Or make a joke out of it. And the people around you, a lot of the people, maybe not everybody, because like I said, some people are jerks and they'll just laugh at your misfortune because that's what people do. Most people around you will respond the same way and go, yeah, you're right. It's no big deal. And they'll move on with their day, and that will be the end of that, and no one will remember it the next day. So don't worry. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. And find ways to improve the way you feel about yourself. If you have been through rough times that have really damaged your self-esteem, some therapy might help if you can do it. Or just trying to talk it out with a friend or somebody might help. But yeah, you can do it. You don't have to be crippled by embarrassment. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. And I'm not afraid to speak out, and I don't have to hide in the corner anymore. I'm okay with being out. And I'm not fond of being the center of attention, but if I have to be for a moment, it's okay. And if something embarrassing happens, big deal. There are worse things that could happen. So that's really about all I have to say about it. I know it's hard, but just hang in there. You're going to be okay, because I'm here to tell you, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and darn it, people like you. As Mr. Smalley used to say. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.